Understanding the psychology behind user behavior is like having a map to guide your design choices. Whether you need to delight your audience, boost engagement, and build your trust, incorporating psychological principles into your design can make all of the difference. Today, I'll talk about 9 psychology concepts that we constantly use in our UX design agency to create intuitive and engaging user experience. So the first one is the principle of perpetual habit, or in simple words, don't touch that works well. People naturally get used to the same stuff, like familiar symbols and routines. So when things change, it can be super annoying. In UX design, this means people really hate when an app gets redesigned. I talked about this in one of my past videos, check it out. It also means that sticking to a layout that users already know works best. Let's say a designer decides to replace the traditional hamburger menu button with a font symbol. Yes, it may look cool from the point of view of the original design, but most users won't appreciate this. The principle of perpetual habit is one of the reasons why all apps have this uniform look, because people get used to it and forcing them to break their habits would lead to frustration. Moving from the comfort of habit, our next psychological concept is people follow the majority. Imagine you're participating in a group study that checks your eyesight. You're shown 3 lines and asked which one is the same lens and control one. The answer seems obvious. A, until I say B. Now imagine a dozen others also say B. You'd begin to question your judgment more and more. Afterwards, you find out that the study was about psychology, not the eyes. The real objective of the experiment was to see how likely people are to confront with the majority. The study is known as the ARC experiment and proved that most people would change their opinion to conform to the majority. Lots of businesses slap on good reviews from past users on their homepages. That's because newcomers think, hey, they liked it, maybe I will too. For instance, during the sign-up process, Mint Banking app casually mentions it's got over 3 million accounts. It's their way of saying, look how many people trust us. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is Hicks' Law, or how much jam is too much. Have you ever found yourself stuck for 5 minutes in front of the shelves in the supermarket, unable to choose out of 30 different brands? You think more jerseys are better, but it just ends up being exhausting. The too many jam effect was discovered when psychologists put a tasting table with 24 tastes of jam in a grocery shop on one day and only 6 tastes on the second day. The study showed that people were 10 times more likely to buy jam when they had less choice, even though the table with 24 tastes initially attracted more people. The phenomenon is also called choice paralysis and is widely used in both marketing and UX design psychology. It states that the more choices you have, the longer it takes to decide. In the world of digital products, where people consider 3 seconds page load too long to wait, too many choices may ruin everything. Users may get frustrated and abandon the page without making a decision. That's why in UX design, it's key to keep things simple and focused. I talked about this in a past video when I showed a redesign that nailed this principle. Before the redesign, the screen was a mess with too much going on. But after, with just one green button, it's super clear what you're supposed to do. Next up, let's dive into what psychology tells us about making mistakes less painful. Doing things wrong sometimes is a part of human nature, as the psychology and life tells us. The aim of the product team is to make the product error-free, but even the best product cannot be protected from mistakes. These mistakes result in happy users, and that causes a problem for overall experience. What can UX designers do with people making mistakes? Completely avoiding them isn't realistic, but understanding a bit of psychology can help ease the frustration. Here are some rules of error management in UX design. Add "Are you sure?" pop-ups and undo buttons. Something that we take for granted, but it saves us so many mistakes every day. I believe that unsend option is introduced in Gmail is one of the best UX designed ideas Google ever did. Sending emails in an instant is great, but sacrificing just a few seconds can prevent quite a few white hairs. Inform users about errors ASAP. Have you ever filled a long registration form to find out that the password can be shorter than 8 symbols, and then having to fill it again? The website that highlights the text box in red as soon as the wrong password is inserted help detect mistakes and an early moment when it's fixing the error list. Make error messages friendly and helpful. Instead of just putting error, suggest possible ways of solving the issue. Contact our tech support and we will resolve the problem. Sounds way more useful. Moving forward, let's talk about emotional design. The human brain has two decision-making systems: fast, based on emotions, and slower, based on the results of the rational thinking. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman wrote a lot about that, and much cognitive psychology in UX design is backed by his findings. Logical thinking fits naturally into the product design process, but it's important not to underestimate the emotional side of humans. Emotions in design are like pepper. It's good in small amounts, but too much spice makes the dish a disaster. In Habitspace, a lifestyle app we once designed, one of our objectives was to make the interface fun to use. So we added emojis to habits and use encouraging copy to motivate people to stay on track of good habits. Close to emotions stands a beauty principle. It's quite intuitive. People tend to trust more websites and apps that look beautiful, have attractive and clean designs. Of course, pretty look won't make up for poor functionality and usability, but combined with a good product, it really makes an influence. I actually talked about this in my latest videos, sharing the story of our MVP for Florid. The investors were like, this looks amazing for early stage thing. And just like that, they decided to fund the project. As you can see, a touch of beauty on top of great functionality can make all the difference. Our point number 6 is about positioning elements on the page. Please welcome to the serial position effect. This rule might not be the most intuitive. It says that out of the row of objects, people pay more attention to the ones that are located on the sides, not in the central one. That is why most apps place the most important buttons on the sides. A similar one is the von Restorff effect, or the principle of attraction. That's a simple rule. Among the range of objects people tend to remember, the one that stands out better, let's say by having a different color or size. That's how a classic pricing page is organized. Designers try to drag users' attention to the benefits of the premium version by the highlighting with the colors and contrast. This is what most of psychology and UX design is about, attracting the attention of the user to the right thing at the right time. The next thing I want to highlight shortly is the F-shape reading pattern. People tend to read in an F shape, focusing more on the top and less as they go down. This pattern influences location of the most important pieces of information and visual elements. The best places are top part and left side. And last but not least, the psychology behind mastering accent colors. When we think about drawing attention, colors are the first thing that comes to mind. The most common color schemes used in UX design rely on psychological principles of perception. The accent colors has to be bright and contrasting to the rest of the page. What's important, it has to be used in small doses, no more than 10%. For instance, while you're watching this video, an accent color button suggests you subscribe to this channel. The 9 UX design psychology principles we explored today are just the tip to the UX design psychology iceberg. Remember, these are starting points and hypotheses. Every decision should be user-tested to fully prove its effectiveness. And that's it for today. If you find this video useful, please hit the like button and subscribe, and see you in the next one.